Welcome, Tom, to METALLERIUM Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Defaced, this last album icon, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we started by asking, how are you doing today, and how is the band during the last 11 years, because your previous album was released 11 years ago. Mhm.
Yeah, otherwise, thanks for having me. Thanks for the request. I'm doing good. The band is doing good. Yeah, it's very true. Last album was 11 years ago. It took us quite some time to get here, but the closer we're getting to the actual release date, the more excited we are, of course.
Hmm. Okay. And I think the next question it is a common one. So why the band delayed 11 years to release this new icon?
Um, Various reasons. We had some downtime during the writing a couple of years ago. We had, people had, or previous members had, of course, other stuff, be it work related, be it family related, which we respected, of course. And then we had some lineup changes over the years, so that always takes some time to get adjusted with new members, to get a feel for everything. That was one part. The other part was also that we really wanted to write songs and then an album with these songs, which is something that all five of us were happy with. Like it wasn't that just one guy writes the entire songs and everyone just has to learn and then that's the way it is. That's not something we wanted to do. We wanted something that everyone's satisfied with, and we only aimed for final results which we could really say, yes, this is what we want. This is how it's supposed to sound. So we didn't want to rush things out. So those two factors, I would say, um, definitely lengthened the process of finishing an album. And then also we did two separate pre-productions that alone took also more time than probably was necessary. We did learn a lot along the way, of course, but yeah, there's like these different elements all up, and then we wanted to look out for a label. Wasn't so easy, but then a friend of ours introduced us to Massacre Records and set everything up there. Also takes his fair share of time. Yeah, I guess that's in conclusion those different elements what resulted in having us taking us quite some time to release this new album.
Okay. Now, into this new icon album, there's a new members like you, like Matt Schiman and Michael Gertsch. So how these new members after the songwriting dynamic compared to the band's early era, for example?
Well, obviously I can't tell because
Mhm.
when I joined, for me it was new. But I'm with Defaced for 12 or 13 years now. I can't even remember.
Mhm.
So I was in the songwriting process for Icon from the very beginning because I joined 20, I think it was 14.
Mhm.
So I obviously can't compare how they managed to do all this before.
Mhm.
Um, then after 3 years, maybe after me, Mat Seshiman on guitars joined,
Mhm.
which was, I would say, quite an improvement. Not, not wanting to slander the previous guy. He was a very good guitarist as well. But with Matze came in an entirely new element. He had a different way of creating songs, I would say. He had a different approach, also had a lot of ideas, was very creative. He's a very musical guy, I would say. So he has a lot of influences from different styles of music, and he's a technically very good guitarist, so that improved a lot of things. He came in with fresh ideas, which were cool, but it also meant that, the guys who were there previous, it wasn't, I'd say that the songs are a bit more complex in a way. They have more variety previous and compared to the previous album. So that also meant that it just took more time to get used to adapt these new elements from Matze. And also, I mean, I think the guitarists found each other pretty quick, but
Okay.
I think that would it brought a better quality into the songs, I would say. And as for Michael, he joined a couple of years ago. The songs are actually already written when he joined, but he then brought in a massively new element with the bass into the songs. He has a very different approach as well as the previous bassist, because he also he's more playful. He likes to have his bass lines
Mhm.
and sweet nuances here and there, while the previous bassist Simon, he was more of the grounded bassist who wants to carry the bottom of the song. So those are both both elements work, of course, but I think Michael's play style just perfectly adds to this new style of songs we had. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel or anything, but I
Mhm.
would say that the overall quality of the songs is just better than before. And with Michael, with his play style, just fitted in perfectly with this.
Mm. Okay, okay. Other thing that I denoted here a lot of times this new album icon is also we did a review also said that now I noted a shift toward more black metal atmospheres in many songs and obviously a grindcore intensity on this one. So was this a conscious decision to modernize your sound or a natural byproduct of a new line or the new line up's influences?
It's a difficult question. I mean, our intention was to have a bit of more modern sound, but we didn't make definite plans on how to achieve that. So
Mhm.
I would say the way the songs became to be as they are now
Mhm.
was very organic, I would say. Maybe also that could be also a part of Matze's influence when he joined the band. He brought in some black metal ideas, which
Mhm.
we all liked. That's why we adopted them. And I mean, most of us, not most, but some of us are always kind of into black metal as just as much as death metal. So it was only natural to adapt more elements of that side. And as of the grindcore side, I would say that would probably be more Marco's influence, I would say. He had some decent ideas, and for us, it was always, if someone has an idea, be it a riff or a couple of riffs for a song, and we all felt that it just works, then we kept those ideas and kept working on them and adapted those elements into previous existing ideas, let's say, and then write these complete songs. So I would say it grew quite organically, but we had that mindset to achieve a little bit more modern sound.
Okay, okay. I completely understand. So, the lyrical themes of this icon explore authoritarianism, and psychological manipulation from the perspective of a tyrant. So, why did you choose to tell the story from the top down rather than focusing on the victims?
That was a conscious decision because the previous album, Forging the Sanctuary, had pretty much that view, as you mentioned, from the victims, let's say.
Mhm.
And we felt that if we do it the other way around this time, we could add a more darker, more cynical element into the lyrics, which can also be a bit more brutal, I would say, because I think it allows you to be more aggressive about it. And if you read, you still get that's a. I mean, you still get. It's not like it's hard to explain. It's not like you write this in with the meaning that you want this to happen, of course. It still displays, I would say, the bad elements of dictatorships, of oppression, all that, all these elements. But it allowed us to write it more in a more brutal way, I would say.
Okay, okay, I understand. Now, the other thing what you mentioned about the, for example, about the sound that you mentioned before, because in an icon there is a distinct balance between the old school bass saw, guitars, and a modern influence, especially for the clear production. So, how did it working with Heartbeat Studio help you achieve a sound that feels nostalgic yet ready for this 2026?
I'm not that much of a studio nerd, to be very honest with you.
Uh-huh.
I think um, they back then decided to go to Poland for the Hertz studio for Forging the Sanctuary,
Mhm.
and they had, I guess, in a way, their signature sound. In a way, that's probably why they decided to go there, because that was before my time.
Mhm.
Um, and now this production was made entirely by our former band members, Simon and Roman, because they built up a studio over the years and they got really good at it. So we wanted to do it there. It's also our previous rehearsal room, so it was easy for us to do without having to rush. And sound wise, I would say they always opted for a more modern sound, and we thought that besides the elements of the logistics and time, etc., we thought that them aiming for a little more modern sound would probably just fit perfectly for
Mhm.
the songs we wanted to do. So it went quite hand in hand, I think.
Okay. Now, your vocal versatility is a great one. So bring a massive range to this record. So were these specific vocal techniques or characters that you had to channel to portray different stage of the, for example, for this authoritarian narrative?
No, I didn't really change anything about my vocal techniques because
Mhm.
by the end of the day, it's still death metal with black metal elements, of course. So for me, it was more important to just have as good vocals as possible. So it fits the sound of the song. It wasn't important, especially. I mean, there are a few points here and there in one or two songs where we, want to lift up a certain sentence, let's say for dramatical reasons. But overall, I sang as I would anyway. Like these are my vocals, and of course I had to push my envelope a little bit here and there just to get the maximum out for each song. But I didn't do so in terms of the topic of the album.
Okay, okay. Now, well, talking about more about, especially for the especially for the for the cover art, because you collaborate with the legendary artist part all our songs for this for the cover art. So how does this visual interpretation align with the dystopian world that you built in the lyrics?
That came up because we wanted, because a lot of the topics of the songs are about how the modern human being is more of a product for that very own world that we're talking about or that we created for that album, let's say, and that we wanted to have like a dystopian human factory, let's say.
Okay.
And for as for the icon, we specifically didn't want to have a figure for the icon. Like it's up to each own's imagination what that icon might be or who that might be, or
Mhm.
or is the icon a society everyone is striving for. We wanted to leave that open and not give that icon a character, which is why we went for that. In the distance, you can see this um, modern high tech city, if you will, and that the simple products are just naturally produced almost kind of programmed to strive to go there. So that's what we wanted, and we always liked the style of Par Olofsson.
Mhm.
So we reached out to him. We presented a rough idea what we had in mind, but without being too restrictive. We just showed up what we had in mind, but let him do the art. Like he then came up with sketches at first, and we were already very impressed with what he brought up just by pencil drawing, and then we adjusted small elements here and there and thought, oh, maybe we could replace this with that. There were first some like some muddy towers before we had these light poles, stuff like that. But other than that, it was all his doing from there on, and we were very, very satisfied with the result.
Hmm. Okay, I understand. Oh, I understand. I understand. So now, well, and the topic that you for let's talk about just more the future for the icon. So, what kind of promotion do you have for this icon for the face? Perhaps you will release a new album in the coming weeks, or who knows? Who knows? Because this album takes 11 years. You working since the beginning of this album. So now, what? Perhaps you have more. And also, I saw that you have some tours there nearby to your country, so perhaps you will include more tours, you release more videos. Who know? What kind of plans do you have for the face and obviously for this icon album?
Well, our first plan is, after all these years, to go out with this new album first and foremost for this year. We haven't planned any further releases as of now. We don't have any. We haven't started really
Mhm.
writing new songs because we also got a new drummer 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Uh, and while he's very good and he almost is able to play every song now, there's still a song or two which we still, picked up uh, to be able to play live, perhaps. So that was our main focus before starting with new songs. As of live shows, yes, we are playing on the 13th of February, with in a place which is called Burgdorf. It's kind of a home game for us.
Okay.
And then we will have one tour, or we are joining for a part of a tour in June with Godless. They're from India. They're coming over for I think, a whole month of a European tour, and we'll be joining them for a week. And then we'll be playing a IL Fest in the Czech Republic in September. And of course, we're still looking out for shows because that's our main goal for this year. Play as many shows, festivals perhaps for this year with our new material. Go out and play. That's what we really want to do with our new material. As for promotion, we joined Etrurian Legion in Italy. He does a lot of booking for us right now. We're also doing some of it by ourselves. And then obviously Massacre Records themselves are spreading the promotion for this new album, of course, together with a couple of agencies they work with and their partnerships. So yeah, I guess we already got some requisitions or inquiries for interviews such as yourself. Um, so I guess it's getting around, and yeah, I assume that once it's actually out, that there will be more to come, and we're excited to see how far it goes. Where what the reach is, how many people will actually listen to it and enjoy the album. Yeah, we're excited to see what's coming.
Okay, okay, okay. Now I'll talk about another kind of thing. So, and we are close to this interview also, Tom. So, as a vocalist in the burn scene, so how do you think your vocal identified differs from the standard European death metal sound?
Ooh, I've never given that any thought, to be honest. um, I think I mean, there's vocalists, of course, I really look up to, which are really good. Not that I know names of all of them, of course, but after I found my own kind of style or voice, I just stuck to that. Really, I mean, I tried stuff here and there, left and right, but I never really. thought or try to sound like other vocalists, being from the area or from Europe in general or Switzerland. I never gave that too much thought, to be honest. I kind of did, this is my thing, this is how I do vocals, this is voice, and I'll just stick to that and try to become better at it, because you're never done learning, right? So I just stuck to my style, I guess. I never really compared myself to other vocalists. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy other vocals. There are terrific vocalists out there, but I never tried to sound like other guys. If someone recognizes my vocals just from hearing it,
Mhm.
and it's in a positive way, then I'm happy, of course. Yeah, but I don't try to compare myself with other top-notch vocalists. There are far better vocalists than me out there. Um, yeah, so fair play to them. I always like to listen to them, and we tell each other, yeah, it was cool and all that. But for me, it's what I do is what I like, and for now I'm sticking to that.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, taking over the frontman position after 10 years hiatus is a massive, or more than 10 years now. It must an undertaking. So, did you feel the weight of the band's history during the Massacre's record signing, or did you approach it as a completely fresh start?
I wouldn't say there was pressure,
Mhm.
especially not just because we signed with Massacre. I mean, joining a label was always our idea.
Mhm.
But during the songwriting, during the recording of the pre-productions, during recording of the actual album, of course, I knew I had to deliver. It had to be good. That
Mhm.
was our aim, for all of us in the band. We wanted to put out something that we really could stand behind. Um, but I wouldn't say it added pressure to me. I'd say because the one of the reasons why we decided to record with our old bandmates allowed us to take as much time as we needed. So I think there would have been a different kind of pressure if we would have booked a certain date 2 or 3 weeks in a studio, because then you have to deliver during your slot during that time you're there, and that took away a lot of pressure, I would say. But being a front man as such, I always enjoyed it. So regardless if it's a bigger show, a small show, I always enjoyed it. I like doing that, and that's why I don't feel like there's any pressure. So I'm just enjoying it.
Hmm. Okay, okay, and one of the last questions from this interview, Thomas, or Tom. So one of the details that always attracts my attention with extreme world was the presence of Switzerland, especially with Celtic Frost and Hellhammer, as influence for a countless bands in the world. But now, Switzerland is like Hyde with a huge band now. No more bigger bands from there, just the bigger it was Celtic Frost and Hellhammer. So, for the what kind of opinion do you have now that Switzerland doesn't have now a bigger band like the 80s?
It's difficult to say. There could be various reasons. I don't know how the bands back then got big. Of course, I wasn't around back then in the 80s. Um, Nowadays, I mean, I'm pretty much an underground guy. So bands like Elevatia or Paleface, I think those are big bands in my opinion. Of course, they're not stadium filling bands like Celtic Frost and those guys used to be. The reason for it is hard to say. I think financially speaking, we're an expensive country, so putting all on one card for a band to maybe get outside your country isn't is difficult, I'd say, because you don't want to leave your area, your comfort zone. I would say probably people from other countries
Mhm.
would risk more potentially. I don't know really. Um, and I personally don't know people from bigger bands, so we should probably ask them. Yeah, for us, it's still a hobby, and I think a lot of bands, especially in the extreme metal, see it see it that way. So, but as I said, like there are a few bands which are big and doing well. So I think it's not completely that we only have small bands left in our country, and they're still doing well, and I guess some of the bands are still getting bigger, and I'm happy for them. But I think it takes a massive amount of effort and backing from your surroundings and everything to even get there. And for us, it was, we're not 20 anymore ourselves, so we still see it as a hobby, but we take it serious. So our goal is to, like I said, go out and tour and play as many shows as we can, and take it from there step by step. Um, and I think there are other bands as well, and I'm sure in the future other bands will rise. There's a lot of young bands coming up, and I'm sure that one or the other will see headlining US tours, for example, in future years. Who knows? But I'm sure that we'll see more bands coming that perhaps might be bigger in the future again.
Okay, okay. Well, Tom, we are right at the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. This new Icon album is a solid one. Congratulations on this one. And
Thank
perhaps
you.
you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallerium followers.
Well, thanks first of all for your request for the interview. Was very surprised to see our album reaching Latin America. I know some people from Mexico actually. Yeah, very excited to see how Defaced will be received in Latin America, and who knows, one day we'll be over there. You never know. It would be definitely an exciting time. Um, Thank you for listening or reading this interview, and keep your eyes peeled for when the album actually drops, and spin it as loud and as many times as you can.